So welcome back to the first case for this week of Fearful Friday. In today's case, we're actually going to Chicago. In this case, we actually, it will be 1988 specifically, so like the late 80s. I know I'm going a little far back with these cases, but you know, some of the older cases are usually the good ones, at least in my opinion. And so with that being said, let's get straight into the video.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares, standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So actually I'm going to start with our victim, because I don't have any like date of birth or upbringing information about our killer. So David Ray McCoy was born on March 6, 1935 in Pearl River, Mississippi. So a Southern man. And then I didn't see anything about his upbringing, but on September 23rd, 1967, Lisa Ray was born. It's like one of his more famous children, his daughters, because he had like 4 or 5, at least the ones that we know of. And then in 1968, so the following year, he would sadly become paralyzed after 3 burglars broke into his sister's house. And I guess he was basically defending his sister, because, you know, that's family. So, despite that, he didn't let being a paraplegic stop him from basically becoming a businessman. And so, sometime after this, he would become a millionaire from owning multiple motels and nightclubs in Chicago. It was said that he would lend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to help people start their own business. So you can imagine this is a very well-liked man, to a point, of course. And so then on April 14, 1974, Debrat was born, which is another one of his famous daughters. And then, of course, you have the 3 other children. And two of those other 3 children actually wrote a book about him. Of course, I did not read the book, but of course, I'll leave the book linked down below, because apparently it's like a very informative book. And so in 1978, he started dating this woman named Sheila Daniels. And apparently at the time of the incident, she was 32 and they had dated for like 10 years. And she is estimated to have been born around 1956. And remember, the story does take place in like 1988. So apparently they started dating when she was like 22. And David had already had a couple of his daughters by this point. So then, of course, we're going to fast forward to the fateful night of November 12, 1988. So then David and Sheila apparently got into an argument. David apparently was turned away from Sheila, and then she proceeds to shoot him in the head. And then at this point, it said that she called her brother Tyrone. And then Tyrone, which I don't know why I have his date of birth, but not hers, he was born May 24th, 1971. So then Tyrone would come over to the house that he shot David twice more, basically trying to make sure he was, in fact, deceased. They then drove his body to an alley in his Cadillac. Police found his body there that same night. The murder weapon was found beside him in the back seat, so they left the car there. Tyrone had removed $1,000 from his wallet before leaving his body there, and dumped his wallet at a McDonald's to basically like throw off the police. So 5 days later, Sheila and Tyrone were arrested after the murder weapon was traced back to them. How? I don't know. Would like to say DNA evidence, but this is the 80s, so who knows. Sheila would say the gun was stolen by her brother Anthony Daniels. Anthony is questioned and let go, so never see anything about Anthony pretty much ever again. And then they would claim that the murder happened over a high electricity bill that apparently was Sheila's fault. Other sources would say that David was about to take Sheila out of his will, and they killed him before he could, so that way she could still get a cut of what she thought she was entitled to. And so at the time of his death, David was said to be worth about $100 million. And so in 1990, Sheila would actually be sentenced to 80 years. But due to a technical issue, she was actually released. And so then fast forward 6 years later to January of 1993, there is a man named William Dowry, who was said to have been about 44 at the time. And he was found murdered by police. 2 masked men were said to have fled the scene around the time William would have died. As police arrived, they actually found Sheila, remember the one who killed her boyfriend, David. She was found to have shoe boxes with $25,000 and a trunk with $166,000 too. So then it was said to be at least $200,000 that they had found altogether. Where William got this money from, isn't even known. Or at least I guess it's not publicly known. So then of course while all this is going on, Sheila and her daughter Stephanie Scott, were getting ready to leave in their new blue Mercedes-Benz sedan. So then Sheila and Stephanie were questioned, but then released it. Well, yes, Sheila was released again And so then in 1997, she was retried again and sentenced to 80 years. And so Tyrone was sentenced to 60 years. And it's said he's supposed to get out sometime in like 4 years from now. And so then Stephanie, Sheila's daughter, who was not David's daughter, in case you were wondering, Sheila was said to have gotten the house the murder happened in and some of David's sons, despite not being family. And so obviously his actual family, his daughters, they would not, you can imagine they weren't happy about that. But yeah, of course. So yeah, that was the murder of David Ray McCoy, at least what I found. Remember, there is a book about this murder, so I guess if you're more interested, you can go look at that book. Of course, I will try to remember the link down below. And so that's all I have for this case, and I will see you faithful in the next one. Bye!
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry.